So in this episode I get a little bit existential about photography and my YouTube channel. Also there's a couple of PC things, like there's the Fanhattan Project, if you've seen that, and a DDR4 round 5 motherboard, and yeah, Tony Northrup doesn't help my existential existential feelings, so stick around, that's what's coming up. This guy requires payment upfront for appearing on the show. We've got a little bit of a different recording setup going on today than usual, so feedback welcome if you've been watching some of the previous episodes. I'll dig into the actual technical details behind that towards the end of the episode, but now let's get on with what we've got to look at. Alright, the first link we've got on to look at today is the Fanhattan Project, which I stumbled across. Now, I'm a big fan of airflow in PC building. Now, I do use a water cooler AIO these days, but I'm a big fan of having lots of airflow and keeping everything nice and cool and trying to get the most out of your GPU and stuff. And there was a guy I used to follow who did like a fan showdown show on his YouTube channel where people were sending 3D printed concepts. And this is kind of funny because the link is in Raindrop, so you can have a look. It's like a dome with lots of smaller fans around it, and actually it performs just about as well as a normal Noctua fan, which is kind of crazy that it something that looks like that. I mean, the sound is going to be atrocious. Have a look at the video yourself to see what you think. There's a whole video on it there in the article. So here's a picture of my main PC upstairs. Not really much room for a dome-shaped fan in here, although, I mean, I guess it looks kind of cool. Probably not very practical, but who cares? It's fun. It's a bit of fun. So I just thought that was kind of cool, kind of interesting. Go watch the video. The other thing that I came across literally just the other day, there's been a announcement by Nikon that some of the Z series cameras, so it says here Z6 III, Z5 II and ZR cameras, there's been some potentially defective parts in them, and they're announcing that you can put your serial number into a checker, which I have included as well. You can use, I don't know if it says on here, but you can use SnapBridge. If you've got your camera connected to SnapBridge, you can get the serial number and you can go onto his website, put it in the checker, and find out whether your camera is affected. And luckily for me, my camera is not. The thing about this for me is over the last few years, Nikon has been the ugly stepchild of photography and videography. And then with the Z6 III, Z5 II and the ZR, they've actually managed to capture a bit of notoriety, I don't know, respect. I don't know if they ever lost, yeah, they lost a bit of respect, I'd say, it sounded like. So in a way, it's a shame for something like this to come up and put a stain on the cameras, but at least they're announcing it before it became a problem, and then everyone having to, you know, bring attention to it through things like YouTube videos and social media, and then getting in a lot of trouble. At least they're getting ahead of it. And if you could put your serial number and find out if you're affected, you'll probably have to be without your camera for a little while as you send it in, but it's probably better than it failing in the middle of a shoot somewhere. Yeah, so good luck. Hopefully your cameras aren't affected like mine is not. Mine is not, just to be clear. Quick side note. Most of the people watching this right now are not subscribed. And if you've been enjoying this chat so far, just hit that subscribe button. It's free. Just takes a couple of seconds. Right, back to the video. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about here. This is a video by Tony Northrup. He's made a video. There's a lot of topics in this video that I've been thinking about for a little while now in different guises, not just about AI. But part of this video that he's talking about is that with the rise of AI, and you can just put some pictures of yourself in, and it's all been trained on professional photography. You can get a professional photo out of it, and it kind of ends up being a little cringe. And now, if you use your sort of, you know, nice camera and a nice lens or something, you know, and you go and take a professional looking headshot, it can kind of appear a bit cringe, essentially. It's almost like less effort is better because it looks less like AI, just because AI has just been trained on professional photography through. And there's a few things that have got me thinking about this, because on the one hand, that is something I've thought. It used to be very satisfying to get a nice, creamy bokeh kind of picture. But now you can just generate anything. So you still have the satisfaction that you made something yourself, but you're just seeing this type of photography absolutely everywhere, more than you ever were before. I'm sure some people will argue that that's great because you can now easily get yourself a professional headshot, but I mean, I don't make any money from photography, but if you did, I imagine it's quite a bit of a worry, really. I guess what Tony's saying here as well is like he edited the pictures less than he would have done in the past, and the client was happier with that than the heavily edited pictures. So in a way, it's actually less work now for photographers. But it kind of branches into another subject that I've been thinking about for a little while, which is, so if I ever go around to the family, right, let's say I take the Z6 and probably the 24-70, right? I probably wouldn't take this macro lens. And, you know, I'm taking some pictures of, let's say, my niece, I don't know, or just a family. What people seem to prefer is they seem to prefer their picture from their phone, rather than if I take a nice picture with the big camera. They're like, I took this picture with my phone and there's no depth of field. It's overly sharpened, overly saturated, but they don't really care because it's their own picture that they've taken, this is all fine. I'm not sure what my thought is really. It does mean I tend to take less pictures when I'm out with the family. Originally, I would have taken pictures for people so that they could have a nice picture, but people would rather have the pictures they took on their cell phone, their mobile phone. It's sounding too American, aren't I? I suppose it's good that people can take pictures with any device now. The overall quality is probably a bit lower. And I guess now you have a mixture of smartphone bokeh, where everything up to a certain point is in focus, and then everything beyond that point is out of focus. You've got this mixture of AI-generated portraits, smartphone computational photography portraits, and then are people less interested in you taking a nice picture of them with your camera? Just interested to hear what you think about it. I'm not even sure what I think about it. The more I've thought about it over the last few years, though, as I said a minute ago, it has meant I've taken less pictures, which means I have less pictures of, you know, I need to take pictures just for myself. Like, I should force myself to take more pictures of the wife. She really hates having her picture taken. And I realised recently I was trying to find a picture of her to put into, like, an optician's tool to find out, you know, what type of glasses might look good on her. And I realised I didn't really have any. I have almost none because she just hides behind the camera and anything as soon as the camera points in her direction. Anyway, just definitely have some thoughts about this, but I'm not exactly sure what they are. Typically for me, I think I spend a lot more time photographing animals, scenery, objects than people anyway. And you know, I don't see the point in generating an image of like the Highlands that I haven't just gone and captured myself. A lot of the fun is just going and experiencing the trip up a hill, or trying to track down where some birds are, or, you know, getting a picture of those, or even just trying to capture them on, like, I don't have a good wildlife lens other than the mirror lens. Yeah, I'm definitely going into rambling territory now, but it joined a few dots for me mentally that I've been thinking about. I'd be interested to hear your comments down below. Okie dokie. So the last subject before we get onto the technological aspects of this episode, I noticed that there's an interesting development here. RAM has gone mental. All computer components have gone mental. I'm trying to update my network storage at the moment. The prices are insane. And ASRock here have released a board which is a mixture of DDR5 and DDR4, which is kind of incredible, really. So apparently they've already launched a version of this like this in the past. Apparently this is the second version of this. It doesn't state whether you can use both DDR5 and DDR4 at the same time, but I guess if you were really struggling and your computer broke, you could buy this board, stick 1 gig of DDR4 in with a 14th gen CPU and just get by. And then if DDR5 prices ever get reasonable again, you could stick like 64 gig of DDR5 in. Now I have heard bad things. This is the thing, different motherboard vendors, I've heard bad things about ASRock, but I'd have to do more research to find out if there's anything to that statement. The article also said that the motherboard is pretty bare bones, so it probably sounds like a very compromised experience, but it's some kind of middle ground where you could make an affordable computer, maybe. So that was, okay, so let's, oh god. Alright, this is the sketchy part of this episode, where I talk about the, the audio might go out of sync. I can't show that side of the camera where the Nikon is, because the wife will kill me, because there's an enormous amount of laundry and other things. And I wanted to use this room for a bit, and I just decided just to go ahead, because it was taking forever to decide how to clean it up, and we needed someone to hang out with, buddy. So what we're doing today is this is my old Samsung Galaxy Book 2 360. Galaxy Book Pro 2 360? And there's an ungodly amount of things plugged into multiple USB slots. In fact, there's a cool, I really like these type of USB cables that show you voltage and the watts that are going in. So we've got a bit of a tripod there for Merlin's camera. We've got a light here just to light the desk and myself. We've got OBS here with multiple scenes. So we can go to, this is the full screen from the Nikon. We've got a split screen when the dog's not behaving, and then yeah, so then we've also got, oh, the cable is a bit short, so we've got a Razer Siren X, which is my old desktop microphone. So the main thing about this setup is it's all stuff that I've cobbled together of different bits of adapters and stuff that I had lying around. So this microphone, I now use a HyperX Quadcast, I think it is, on my main PC. So this was the backup microphone. That's the laptop I don't use anymore. Tablet that I use primarily these days, and there's the main light that we have to fill the room. So I'm recording using this straight into OBS. Now the reason I've changed the setup, what I was doing originally, I should probably explain, is recording onto an XQD card into the camera, and I was using the CM28 kit into the camera. Then I would take the memory card out, dump it into the SD card in here, and edit off that. But the thing is, I would need to also do some screen recording on the tablet, or take screenshots of the websites I'm looking at, then put it all together in an editing software in post. What I'm hoping to do with this setup is I'm recording directly onto a USB SSD drive, which I'll plug into here and offload the footage once we're done. But I'm hoping by being able to use, the split screen option here, the different cameras, then I can produce the episode while we're recording it, thus reducing the amount of time it takes to edit and deliver the episode, which means I'll have more time to spend on other things. While the podcast type or the videos are receiving, minimal views, realistically, like, let's just talk for a minute about the state of the State of the Union address and the state of the podcast address, state of the channel address. Let's go to YouTube Studio. Load the analytics up. Right, so we've had a bit of a spike in views. Let's put a short up. Funnily enough, though, that short did get a negative comment. Thanks for the next stupid video. Yeah, I mean, I guess all engagement is good engagement. The views did immediately drop off immediately after that negative comment, but never mind. I mean, it wasn't the most riveting video. It was just a time lapse from the focus stacking video. What I was trying to do sometimes is just a mixture of, if I record a video, can I take sections of that video, upload them as a short to maybe help drive traffic to the main video. I don't know if you heard that, the dog just ripped quite a big fart. But yeah, so some of the recent videos have struggled, I think, because they're not necessarily product reviews and stuff. They don't pick up as much traffic as some of the videos. So if we just have a look at the podcast analytics, in fact, let's just go to the last 90 days. Yeah. So the first episode didn't do too bad, but the average view duration is pretty low at only 20%. The most recent one had a higher view percentage, but had the number of views is catastrophically low. The click-through rate's dreadful. I'm really struggling to figure out what to do with the thumbnails to kind of drive people to pick up these episodes and watch them. Because the problem is I don't want to have to clickbait stuff, and so I want to try and be authentic, but I don't know how to make a thumbnail that gets attention, that isn't that. Whether I literally just put a static picture like the first one of me and this guy like this, I don't know. This is me just nattering on at this point. Why don't I just use this time here now just to talk a little bit about what I've tried over these last 5 episodes. I mean, like the first episode was me I just tried nattering away. And it didn't do too bad, but the average view duration was quite low. Second one, I had a bit more of a plan to it, and it got a decent amount of views, but the average view duration dropped off. It's only 12%. That's pretty grim. The third one, the views tanked dramatically. In fact, the next 3, you can see the views just completely tank off. Actually, no, because the fourth one there is episode 2, so episode 2 performed dreadfully. I tried a couple of different thumbnails, and there was a nice picture of like street photography in there, but the rest of the episode was probably a bit garbage, so that's fine. At the 5th episode, I tried to script it more and tried to use a bit more of a hook at the start, which I don't like doing. I don't like talking to a script. This episode, I went off script again, right? I didn't use a script at all. I just found, more like the first episode, found links that I wanted to talk about, and this is going to be a lot more rambly, which some people like and turns some people off dramatically. All the advice says to not ramble. So I'm just experimenting with it a bit. And I'm hoping that this setup like this, and interestingly, we've just gone over the 30-minute mark. And when you're recording with the Nikon Z6 and you're recording onto a card, you have a 30-minute timer. So I'm trying to experiment how to make this work and not turn people off immediately. Also, whilst trying to remain authentic and keep it simple and fun. I don't want it to be too draining on me, but it's good practice talking to camera and preparing things and editing stuff. It's good practice getting the workflow going. But yeah, setting up multiple camera angles now with the dog camera and everything. Yeah, I'm glad it works, and reusing some of my old pieces of hardware and helping streamline the recording process. The tricky thing with all this is you don't get any feedback. The only feedback you get is what you did was wrong. You don't get feedback as to what it was that you did was wrong, what you should have done. So, I mean, look at these numbers here. The first episode, and is that the fourth episode? Did okay. And it might be because I don't want to just talk about AI all the time. It's an interesting subject, but there are other things to life than AI models. Yeah, so let's just go back full screen. So I'm going to wrap this up now, and then I'm going to upload this video, and we'll see how it does. I don't know how to get feedback on what is working, or if people switch off a video, they just switch off the video, they don't tell you, or you get random low effort comments like I got on that short, which doesn't help really. So I'm gonna keep plugging away at this. If you've stuck around this long, thank you very much for listening to my rambling. I'm gonna try and trim it down in post. I won't have to, so people don't have to suffer too much from me repeating myself, but no, I appreciate it, and thank you very much for watching this episode. See you next time. Let's get a little handshake. Merlin, shake. Thanks for watching.